our agenda, which was posted online and at the door. So first order of business is Pat Walsh here visiting with us to talk about moving ahead. Take it away, Pat Walsh.
Great.
And can you come stand or sit near the almighty owls? Yeah. I can give you a chair there.
Okay, a little bit.
There's a chair right there.
Okay.
So, here we go.
You get 2 for 1 here.
That's right.
Hi, I'm Brian Richardson with the City of Eugene.
And I'm Pat Walsh. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications at Lake Transit District. I've been an employee there for about a year. I'm also your neighbor. For the past 24 years, I've lived in Santa Clara and I live off Lynbrook Drive and Sabrina. We're here tonight because we wanted to do is give you a brief update in terms of where things stand with moving ahead, particularly since we had a recall election and that election was certified on Monday night or Tuesday. Brian and I and the team between the city and LTD felt it was important to engage the community. And tonight we're probably going to do a whole lot more listening than we are presenting. So where do we stand with moving ahead at this point? Well, a lot of you may remember back in the spring, the City Council and the LTD Board of Directors gave the staff an instruction to go out and continue to research and do more planning regarding what was considered at that time the local preferred option, or alternative rather. That local preferred alternative is moving ahead as MX on River Road. Won't come up quite this far, but it will be down in the southern part of the River Road corridor. So that's what the staff is doing, even with the election, with the recall vote and the City Council looking for a new person to fill that Ward 7 spot. We continue to do that work and to do that extra planning. And what the planners are doing is they're taking a look at that locally preferred alternative, and they're making refinements to that plan based on what they know, what they think they're going to know, and also to find ways to mitigate removal of trees, taking of property, and other options along that, other opportunities along that road. Then what will happen is that once they get that plan together, that refined locally preferred alternative, we're going to come back out to the community, and the planners and the team will present that information for people to respond to and to take more feedback, to do more refinement to that plan. Okay. There are no decisions made regarding MX, nothing at this point. We have an option that's being researched and being further planned at that point. So going back, the planners and our team will come back out to the community hopefully in the first quarter of next year to begin to get that feedback and to do some things. So that's where we stand right now on moving ahead with all the things that have gone on and all the things that have happened to date. But that's where we are. And we're still following the path that we followed that was set by the LTD Board of Directors and the City Council. Yes.
With this, when you come back with your new plan and you say you're going to come back to the community, do we then get a vote on it, or this is what we are presenting to you and this is what it is? Or do we get a vote on we agree with you, or is it just we've reassessed it and we're not going to take these trees, we'll take these trees? What's that?
Well, what'll happen is you'll have an opportunity to look at the opportunities, there'll be more than one, to look at the plan and help the planners refine the plan in a way that they can then go back and present to the decision makers.
We do get to say it'd be better if we kept 4 lanes instead of reducing it down to 2.
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to get a vote on that, but you're going to get a say in it. That's for sure. They're out here. There's going to be 4 lanes.
No, there is.
But
not
when you
from
get
Walgreens to First, there won't be.
Well, yeah. So you're right. Well, it's not that there will be. We don't know if there will be or not, but that's what's in the plan. You're correct.
So we get an opportunity to change that plan.
I don't know about change it, but inform it.
Okay.
I think you guys would like that.
I'm going to go ahead and manage the queues for you.
You bet.
And I will interject. There's a question from a Zoom person who says, how did moving ahead become the locally preferred option?
So when we talk, yeah, so when we talk about moving ahead is really a look at 5 of our biggest corridors throughout town, and River Road was one of those corridors. And in that, there were 3 different options that the different teams both looked at. One of them being a no-build option, another being the enhanced corridor, and the third being MX. And so as part of this, really took a good look through the planning process, and this has been a long process. This hasn't happened over the last couple of years. This has been a long running process. Looked at different options, talking to people up and down the corridor, holding open houses, holding different kind of pop-up events, looking for input at that point as well. And then we also did traffic studies. So it was kind of a wide-ranging analysis when we looked at kind of the whole of River Road. And when I say the whole of River Road, I'm talking about Irving South, Hunsaker Irving South. And then as part of that process, through all of the different things combined, traffic studies, input that we got from the open houses, both good and bad, and then kind of just working through the planning process as well, talking to the property owners as well as many of the tenants along that area as well. So kind of that mix combined, then we presented that to both the boards, LTD and the city of Eugene. And from there, that's when the decision was made for MX, for the local preferred alternative. That's where we're at right now.
So that doesn't sound too local to me. It sounds like their board and the city councilors made a decision regardless of what the people in the community are thinking. I've been here, I'm new to the area. I've only been here a little over 3 years. And I knew nothing about this until the recall. And then I saw what was going on. And when I looked at what was going on, I looked at the document that you have online from 2018. And it's like very big and very vague. And it's very confusing, but it never really evaluates the difference of how anything got decided between one or the other. And the way I see it, it was going to be EMX all the time. And this is a kind of a veiled attempt to make it look like the community is involved. Just like when over here asked if we get to vote, the answer was yes, but no, well, you won't get to vote. So you're telling us we get to vote. I see some very strong issues with this direction. And I don't know if anybody else has made actual comments on this. And I know that at the time of the recall, over 800 people filed opposition documents that they're opposed to it. Yet you're saying you're still on track for what you want to do because the board wants to do it and the city councilors want to do it.
So I would do a couple of things I'd say to you. One is that you do get a vote. First of all, the Santa Clara Community Organization can vote whether they support the local moving ahead, the local option, the local preferred alternative or not. That's one vote. You have an opportunity to talk to your city councilor. They're the decision makers here. Yeah. You know, and you also have a representative on the Lane Transit District Board. Our board is appointed by the governor. Those are the people who make the actual decision. Sure. We gather that information. We gather information for them to make that decision, and they need your input as well. Yeah. You know, it's not all a one-way street. Yeah, but the input, like in Ward 7, the input was given to the counselor, and she said there was no opposition that she had heard of. And that wasn't true because at that time there were over 400 people that were opposed to it and it was in writing. Yeah, I don't know about what Claire Surratt knew or didn't know. There's a lot of nobody knows about things, but it's moving ahead is what I like the title.
Okay, next in the queue, please.
Janet Ayers, 3 questions. Could you be more precise in the boundaries of what you're proposing? Sure. Second question, is EmX and MovingAhead both terms used interchangeably? Third question, could you go in deeper detail with the 3 choices that were proffered in the beginning and how that direction changed from a no build to that middle one to what you're currently proffering?
Before you answer, can you repeat the question and then answer for the people at home because they won't be able to have heard Janet.
So the boundaries
Yes.
for moving ahead, specifically when we're talking about River Road, the northern boundary that we're looking here is Hunsaker south to downtown. There are already some infrastructure that's built in the downtown portion. So we already have MX that's downtown.
You did find downtown more clear.
Down 6th and 7th, there's already MX infrastructure on 6th and
Must cut
7th.
over through the chambers.
Yes, yeah, down chambers into 6th and 7th. There's already quite a bit of infrastructure down on that portion, but ultimately it connects downtown to this northern area.
Are the two terms used interchangeably, MX and moving ahead?
So, so moving ahead is an interchangeable term with MX. So moving ahead is a much larger project that looked at 5 corridors, continues to look at 5 corridors, 5 of Eugene's biggest corridors, really as we plan out for the future. So we know we've got a growing community, bigger community. How do we serve that need? And so River Road was one of the 5 corridors that's part of moving ahead. Inside of each one of those corridors, there were 3 options that were really looked at. MX, the advanced corridor, and then no build. So those were the 3 different options that were looked at. And each one of the 5 corridors got looked at for each one of those options.
Could you provide the pros and cons of each of those 3 scenarios so that the public is best informed as to how this direction, why we're at the point that we are?
We have one of our planners here, Andrew Martin,
Yes.
and we'll have it, and Andrew's gonna step up. He can give you some more detail on that.
So obviously there are a lot of pros and a lot of cons, right? We're doing anything to the street. And so I would direct you to look at, I think someone over here said it was big and confusing, and that's true. We have an executive summary of something called our alternatives analysis. And we have all kinds of information in there. So lots of people care about different things, right? Some people care a lot about trees. Some people care how long it's going to take them to get home from work. Some people care how much money LTD is going to spend, right? Everybody cares about different things.
And
so
not always
all-
singular.
right.
It could be a
Yeah,
package.
totally, yep.
Yes.
And we know that because we've actually asked people, and we say, what do you care about? We hear lots of people care about lots of different things. And so all of that is in an executive summary. And then we have the big version, which is, I admit it's confusing, but there are reasons for that. It has to meet federal regulatory purposes. But also, if you care about something and you want an answer, I'm more than happy to give you my card and I will help you find answers to stuff that you care about.
I would like the answers provided in a group context.
Sure.
Not just a singular.
I might be able
The
to,
public,
sure.
the voters.
Yeah, it's all available. We're not, I mean, if I know the fact in my head, I will tell you this moment. I know a lot of things, but depending on what you care about specifically, I may or may not be able to just pull it out of my head.
What's the difference between EMX advanced and no build?
So those were 3 different options, right? When we're looking at this, instead of just saying it's MX or it's nothing, no build is nothing, right? Nothing that we're not already planning to do. And I know that sounds confusing, but right, River Road's gonna get repaved at some point. Okay, so that's gonna happen. When I say nothing's gonna happen, I mean, we're gonna do the things that we normally do, but we're not gonna add anything, okay? At least not now. Maybe someday in the future, but not now. Enhanced corridor, right? We know what MX is, right? You can picture that in your head. It's a green bus, it's long. Enhanced corridor is not exactly in the middle, but it's somewhere in the middle, okay? It's not doing nothing, but it's not doing a full MX. So on River Road specifically, what we said was, and right, this is, as Pat said, there's a lot of design refinement needs to do, right? This isn't a, it's not just done deal, but you say like, where's the station? I say, I think the station should be here, but we know we have to move that, right? Like there's a lot of stuff we don't have totally nailed down. And the next steps are to go and try and figure out, well, if we did do that, how, like what it would, is it here or is it 5 feet over there? But enhanced corridor, for instance, it's lighter touch, right? We're spending less money, we're getting less stuff. And so MX has protected bike lanes on River Road. Enhanced corridor didn't, right? It's less. In terms of the bus would come every 15 minutes instead of every 10 minutes. So it's less bus service because we're saving less time by building less infrastructure for the bus to help the bus get through traffic. If we don't save more time with the bus, then we can't really afford to add more buses because they sit in traffic at Beltline like everybody else does, right? And that costs money every day. So if we save more time, we can add more frequency, the bus can come more often, but it's more expensive and it requires more things like property acquisition, potentially more trees being cut down, stuff like that. So again, the pros and cons, if you do more, right, we can do more, but that also costs more. There's a middle ground though, where you don't have to say it's all or nothing. And that's basically what the enhanced corridor was.
I got a question.
So the next one in the queue is from here, and it says, what is the projected cost currently? Do you have a enhanced corridor and MX cost?
I do, don't quote me on the number, is around 70 million in 2016 dollars for MX. Most of that we anticipate would be paid for with federal funds. We get grants to do these projects. They do require local match. Enhanced corridor was less money, I think around 30 million. Keep in mind, these are 2016 dollars. We have not updated the cost. Like, part of the next steps would be to go through, and as we, move a station, maybe we don't need to buy someone's property. That's really expensive. We don't want to do that. And so we can refine those costs and come up with a new estimate in 2023 dollars.
You're in the queue.
So I got two questions. My name is Jerry. I'm born in the community. I've lived on multiple streets. I have my own house now off of Ferndale. My first question is, have we done a use study? So as far as I can see, when I live on the buses, I see on average a person to two persons on the 51, 52 buses. The question is, are we doing a study to see what the purpose of doing this is even going to have an impact on? What are we servicing? We're servicing an extra person on an already empty bus. My second thing is, it already sounds like this isn't going to be a thing, but is there going to be a yes, no vote at all? Or is this, we're going forward, it's just how are we going?
No, there's a yes, no vote, because there hasn't a decision been made, but we're gonna take information back to our staff and also to our, in my case, our board and our elected officials, but you also have to engage with them as well and tell them where you're at. You have an opportunity to do that through this organization and move forward. We're the staff, we're not the decision makers. Okay, and that's just how it goes, but we have to be able to provide a good recommendation to them. We're going to get that from the people here in this community, but you also have to engage. You have to engage with your city councilor, and you have to engage with the LTD person.
So but my question is there going to be, this is on the ballot, yes, no, we're going to do
It's not a ballot issue. It is not a ballot issue.
So we're going to spend over, it's going to be over 100 million. It's going to be, because in 2016, there's no way it's going to cost 70 million now. So we're going to spend over $100 million on something that we are not going to vote on.
And also $2 million more every year to keep it running. More $2 million in 2016 to keep it running every year over what we have.
And so just, can you answer the first question? That's my most important question, is did we do a usage study? How often or how much more use, if any more use? We're not even getting that much use, I know, in Santa Clara. I drive all the time, I look at your buses, there's nobody on the buses.
Sure. So two things. We know every time someone gets on and off the bus, right, there are counters on the doors. So if you want ridership numbers today, I will tell you they are lower than they were before the pandemic, but it's not no one. We actually do get quite a bit of ridership. It's less when you're, at the ends of the route in Santa Clara. It's more as you go down River Road. Makes sense because there are more people along the way, right? If you want those numbers, I can email them to Kate. She can distribute them to everyone. The other thing is, yes, we do ridership estimation. We did that. It's in our reports. And your next thing you're going to say is probably that, well, things have changed. You have lower ridership today. So are you going to redo that? The answer is yes, we're going to redo that. It will be publicly available before, as Pat mentioned, there will have to be a yes, no vote by city council and LTD's board. And so they will get that information. You will get that information. Well, part of my job is to come to lots of meetings like this and try to get as many people to see as possible. So
sorry, last thing. If there is a decreased ridership, do you decrease the amount of buses or service numbers you do, or we just continue to do the same amount of spending on sending buses to less ridership? Do we ever decrease the number of routes we run?
Absolutely. We cut the routes significantly during the pandemic, and I think we're back up now to about 80% of the routes that we had pre-pandemic. We're not running full speed. We laid people off and all sorts of things during the pandemic because we weren't running the same number of routes. We couldn't.
Okay, so here,
Do any of the planners or people on the city board, any of you guys live in Santa Clara?
I live here.
Well, what do you think about the traffic that's coming up? There's gonna be a development on the Kent property.
Yeah.
There's gonna be infill, the urban growth boundary is probably gonna move, which is gonna create more traffic. I just don't see a need for EMS. There's just no need.
I was telling Jerry here a few minutes ago, like I said, I've lived out here a while, not as long as a lot of you have, but I've lived out here a while. And I had a conversation with a neighbor the other day who was also complaining about the traffic. And the reality is we're the problem, okay? We moved out here and these roads weren't built for all of us, okay? And so one of the things I will tell you is that believe it or not, a bus is an option. We're providing an option for people to use to get out of their car and go somewhere. Now, is it well, it is. It's an option if you want to take it. And that's what the bus does. It's an option. And there are people who live along River Road and also within the corridor that don't have cars, can't afford cars. So they take the bus.
so this gentleman, then Natalie, then Patrick, then Patty, then John. Mhm.
So I appreciate you bringing up the issue of necessity. My name is Doug Freeman. I've lived in this area for 20 years. I was also the senior property officer charged with appraising and acquiring right-of-way for LTD for the Pioneer Parkway.
Well,
I know where a lot of your skeletons are buried. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
In 2012, Stephanie Giano called me that Lane County had leased that southeast corner where the old bus station is for 20 years for $100 a year. Some brilliant person at Lane County negotiated that lease. I sold it to him for $2.25 million. It was then abandoned so he could build a brand new one that nobody is ever in, across from a fire department, to run these double-decker buses. As he says, I stood down on a corner when we were handling Claire Surratt recall for 2 hours and watched your buses go by with a maximum of 3 people, double-ended buses. Okay, you're talking $100 million plus operating costs to do this thing. Here's the thought: everybody who wants to use a bus, give them a Visa card, let them buy an Uber, contribute to the economy, pay taxes, and forget this nonsense.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't hear a question in there, so we'll move on. Yeah.
Thank you, Jen. That was awesome. Anyway, okay, and
yes, I do know that.
so I live close. I frequent going and sitting at the car wash. 8 cars a day, maybe 10 ride the bus to go downtown to work. That does not warrant an MX. Talking to you, 2016. So 2016, we've been planning this. And none of these people know anything about it.
Yeah.
That's, well, really, okay, and then when I have moving ahead, it says the LTD and city council approval by the city council earlier this week. It says Highway 99, enhanced border, River Road, MX, and it goes down. You're telling us that MX was not planned? Is that what you guys are saying? I mean, it's right here on this paper that it was voted that that's what the alternative was going to be for us.
It's not what it's going to be. What our direction from council were on in April and in March was to do more research. Yes, it was.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we're going to have more research and more input. So in 2019, CSA Planning Ltd. out of Medford did a study on LTD services. For the past 10 years, ridership on LTD has decreased by 29% from its peak. That's in the last, since 2012, it's decreased. So how can we spend $100 million to put a bus out there that's gonna take lanes away from our community to ride 3 people or 6 people, maybe by the time it gets downtown?
Yeah.
We need to have a say in this, one way or another, whether it's a vote, but we need to have a major say in it. I think the say was for recalling Claire, because she didn't listen to us. That was one say, and we're gonna continue saying, and we're gonna speak louder. So I appreciate you guys being here, because this community came tonight to listen to you and just get the facts. And I'm glad you came, and I appreciate that. And I'm looking forward to more dialogue with each of you.
So next in the queue is Patrick, then Patty, and then Rich. But there is a comment from the Zoom audience I want to interject that says, at least half our residents are unincorporated. They don't have a city councilor to represent them in this vote. How are they supposed to feel like they have representation? Just the LTD board member or?
They're an LTD board member.
Mhm.
I mean, that's, you know, I don't know what else to say, you know?
Also, I'll just say, part of my job, right, is to talk with people, and I actually have been here, I don't, probably don't recognize, I had much shorter hair back then. Pandemic did crazy things to all of us. But I've been here, right, and this meeting is a place where Santa Clara residents can come, right? We also do this on River Road. And so I know that you do not have a direct say in your city councilor, but we don't, and when in the work we're doing, I mean, Brian can tell you, we give all of the city councilors, I don't tell them who is and who isn't a resident, right? All of the comments I've ever received, I give them a big stack of exactly what you say. If you want something to go to them, send me an email. I'm like required legally, as we're doing the federal process, I have to give them all the comments, so they get all the originals. And so I'm not gonna flag you as a Santa Clara resident who's in the county and one who's in the city, right? You might not get to vote for them. I don't have a say in that, but I will pass on your comments and all of your, what you tell us. We don't care whether you're in the county or the city. We treat it the same.
And can you tell us specifically who our LTD board member is?
Caitlin Vargas.
Okay, thanks.
Again?
Caitlin Vargas.
Okay, off to Patrick.
When you were here before, we were talking about traffic counts and head counts, and I'll guess the counts that mattered were trips, overall trips, not people, not ridership, not capacity. It was trips. Well, we're getting more trips because we can have more buses, we can have more trips. So that person may get on and get off faster or more, so that's more trips. But it's not a capacity. Our capacity is, 98% to go. If we were at 80% capacity and we needed to do this, I can see that. We have this need, but there's no capacity driving this. It's just we can get more turns, we can get more visits on this, and the calculations matter. But the calculations don't really matter if you're sitting there in traffic. And from here, we'd love to take to go downtown to take it, but it's not offered at a time that we can take it. And when it takes half an hour to get downtown, it's not a huge option. Yes, it is an option. So one of the things I'd like to see with our neighbors is the capacity being looked at as when it gets a certain capacity, even 10% capacity would be helpful. What is that now on our route? And that projection of, if you do this, that capacity is projected to go up to X, not just number of trips have increased, because there's a lot of counting of those trips, and that equaled this amount at this point in time. Again, what is the capacity on that bus? And what is this going to do to our capacity? That's on that side. The other side is I hear a lot of these meetings. I'm so glad you're here. This is great. Glad to see our neighbors. This is where we need to be as a community. And I appreciate that. We'd love to see you come out again and again and again. We've had these conversations with the city, with LTD many times for the last few years. Some people were involved, some people weren't, and to different levels. We get that. If you want to know if you have a vote, what you can do the same thing here to the LTD boards and to the city councils. Go Go visit them, go talk to them, write to them, don't be unheard. We can recall you, do everything you want. If you don't participate like this and get your name on a piece of paper and email to them, you're not going to be counted. And they will go through and say, this is what we hear. Go use your process just like you're doing today. And just like we've had it out over the last few years to do this. So thank you for coming, and we want to continue that. But you use our voice for that good and go to these other organizations, because that's all they answer to, just like we answer to somebody else. They're just answering to what they're being directed to. Go to their commissions and their boards and tell them what you really think.
So I talked to Kate at one of the park things, and she told me this has been going on since 2015. And then I've lived in this neighborhood 45 years. I've lived in Eugene. I'm not going to tell you how much. I lived in Seattle, Washington for several years. I graduated from college there, and I rode the bus every day because I didn't have a car in Seattle, Washington. We are not Seattle, Washington. I can guarantee you that we're not. I worked downtown. I took the bus. I rode my bike. We are not Seattle. I ride my bike here, but I cannot take my mother, who is 100 years old, on the back of my bike, nor can I take her onto the bus. I have a car to take her. My neighbor has 3 kids. They are not going to walk down to Irving to River Road and catch a bus to go do their errands. So what I have felt, and I have a question, is that we're being forced to give up our cars. That's the bottom line. Number 2, every time we're in these meetings, people go, oh, we're going to get federal money. Well, guess what? My son works at the Treasury Department, and I asked him if there was a tree that was growing with money outside the Treasury Department. And you might think that's funny, but I asked him at Christmas, and he said, no, there was not a tree with money. And there's not one at the White House because I've been there. And I'm just telling you, you're picking my back pocket.
What's your question though, Patty?
I guess I don't have one.
Okay.
Except where is the money coming from? Because he said federal and grants. So other than my back pocket, where is it coming from?
Still comes from your back pocket no matter what.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I have been to some of these meetings and all I've done is listen. And somebody said, oh, we have this big one at North Eugene. Well, then I talked to some people who went there and they said, yeah, we all walked out because they weren't listening to us. And then everybody got all upset about what happened just a few weeks ago. And we're like, why would you be upset? They weren't listening to us.
So do you want to know what is the question?
Yeah,
what is
where
the
is the money
process
coming
for
from?
applying for federal money and what's
Where
the
is the
likelihood
money
of getting
coming
it?
So I can't tell you where the federal government gets money. That's not an LTD issue. So LTD works with Federal Transit Administration, which is part of the Department of Transportation, which is, I don't know under which federal agency above that. They have programs that are appropriated by Congress. That money, there's a pool of money that they get every year. LTD as a transit agency is eligible to apply if we have certain criteria. If our project is competitive, in that it, saves time, gets new riders, has an impact on the community in terms of economic development. There are a whole bunch of criteria. And if they think that we're competitive, then we are eligible to get some of that money. If we don't get that money, it will go to some other community. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, right? I'm not in Congress. I don't, I'm just saying if that money's out there, if we want to do a project like this, we're eligible to apply. And if we're competitive, we might get it. If we don't want to do the project, we don't have to. That money can go somewhere else.
So Rich, and then this lady, and then we'll go to the back of the room. Yeah, and we'll get John. Yeah, focus on people who haven't been heard yet. So,
Me?
yeah.
Okay, so somebody mentioned over here, which I saw in writing too, that the ridership is down 29%. And I'm wondering if, while that's happening, are you guys, when you analyze whatever you're analyzing, have you taken into consideration that more and more people are working from home? That everybody now is buying electric cars or hybrids or plug-in hybrids, electric bikes, and they all have other modes of transportation that need safety protection. And instead of giving bicycles safety protection, you want to give them bigger buses that end up being empty. And when I say empty, the CSA Planning Limited, who's one of your consultants at LTD that does reports, they said that in 2015, when you did the Gateway line, that the MX on Gateway was using less than 10% of its capacity, and ridership was 60% less than projected. They did it, and then in the Eugene Register Guard, they talked about the West 11th MX line, and it was projected to carry 7,400 people per week, but fell short at by 57% at 4,245 per week. So when I looked at the statistics that I saw in your 200 or 350 page document, am I supposed to assume your projections are going to be good or fall short by 60%? In other words, so far, none of your projections seem to be working out. And now you're wanting to spend, this would be 150 million or 175 million over the 20-year period. And what your statistics show are very confusing because they want to show what the cost is in 2016, but they want to put that against the ridership in 2035. And that's not a very fair assessment of what the cost is. And when you boil it all down using your statistics, which may be flawed, it turns out that the additional ridership that you're going to snag with your MX bus is going to cost $27.50 per trip. Now, somebody gets on the bus, they don't pay $27.50 to go from here to Fred Meyer. But that's what the cost is after we put the bill over 20 years at 150 or 175 million dollars. And so I don't understand the mathematics that's going on here. And I ride the bus, not all the time, but I enjoy riding the bus. And when I get on the bus, I'm not kidding, there's about 5 people on the bus. And yes, people get on the bus and off the bus. And the fact is, there may be 10 or 12 people when I go from here to downtown Eugene. And there's places I go that I like to use the bus. But then on the other hand, I'll ride my bike. Or if I have to, I take my car. And I have a, economical car. I've got a hybrid, so I'm trying to do the right thing. And when you look at these buses that you guys run, NX buses, they're diesel.
Yes.
They're big diesel vehicles that when you look at what they do to the environment, we want to get people walking, we want to get them riding their bikes. We don't want to get them riding in big buses that are in. And then in order to run these buses, you're going to pave it with concrete, which is not the best material to be using for our serious problems with climate change. And while we're doing that, what's the statistics on that one? What I saw was you're going to add an additional 188,300 square foot of concrete paving that will be draining 660,000 cubic feet, which is 5 million gallons of water, into Spring Creek. Okay, and that would be the headwaters of Spring Creek. And what are you going to do when everybody has flooding problems in Spring Creek Lake?
Do you have a question, Rich?
That's what the question is. Where are all these statistics coming from that don't make any sense?
Well, I am looking forward to you being here in the spring. I don't know how to answer all of those questions here tonight.
Well, they're observations is what they are, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to bring them to your attention.
I appreciate
Only
it.
because you need to digest them. I'm not going to force you to give me an answer right now because you're going to have to wing it half the time because there's too many things involved. It isn't as simple as are we going to run a bus or not. But I came from a community that kept trying to start a bus system, and every time they did, it failed because the buses were too big. And the third time around, after 15 years, they bought small buses, and now they have a successful bus system. And that may not apply to Eugene, but right now, when I ride the bus, there's 5 people on it. You don't need one that carries 120 people. It doesn't make sense.
Thank you. Your turn.
Hi, I'm Danny Crowe, and
this is my first time being at one of the meetings, and I appreciate you being here to represent the LTD, and I realize you're just your employees. But one of the comments that you made, sir, was that you're providing an option. Well, are you providing an option or forcing an option?
Yeah.
I don't believe we're forcing it. I mean, I don't, I'm not personally, nor do I believe in that type of social engineering, but we are providing an option. There are people up and down this corridor that don't have cars for whatever reason, and then they rely on that bus. If you wanted to take the bus, I don't know where you live, but like for me, if I wanted to take the bus, I would walk down Lynbrook Drive and get on right around the corner from my house. It's an opportunity, it's an option to be able to do that.
Don't we already have buses?
You asked me if the bus was an option. Yes, if we're talking about MX, that would kind of.
Yeah.
It would be an opportunity for, yes, it would be another option, it'd be a faster option, a more frequent option for buses. You can go ahead.
Yeah.
Like faster in what?
So-
Frequent in what?
Correct, yeah, part of MX is a service as well, so it's quicker bus service, so, you know, if more people have the opportunity to make it that convenience factor, it would be more convenient for them, hypothetically
Right.
speaking,
How?
because the buses come
More
more
frequently.
frequently.
They stop car traffic for them.
They're cutting the whole traffic lane down just so they can run that bus with 6 people on it.
And also one of the
Have you
things.
guys been out here at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 7:30 in the
Yeah.
morning?
Yes,
And it takes you 35 minutes to drive down River Road, and you want to cut that down to 1 lane?
So when we're talking about, I can get to that in just a second, when we're talking about providing options, another thing that we're talking about here, and again, nothing is decided, but with the MX comes additional protection and safety features with, you know, added crosswalks for increased safety for walking, added protection for bike lanes as well. So it's giving more options for people who may want to choose to walk, who don't feel safe, who may want to choose to ride a bike, who don't feel safe. Also with increased frequency when it comes to buses as well. There's another option. So there's more options for people to take, but there's no forcing of anything.
Okay, have you, is this all written, all those options?
Yeah.
Is this all
Yeah.
written in,
on our
on
website.
website? And could we get your business cards and your contact information?
I can, yeah, I can give you
Yeah,
mine, I
I'll give
didn't
you
give you a
mine.
business card, but I can absolutely give you.
Okay.
And then
And
can I address that other comment as well?
Mhm.
Part of what we're doing here, part of the previous analysis that we did was looking at traffic studies, the planning studies as well. Part of the continued analysis. So we can't do this project at the sacrifice of extreme congestion. That's not what we want to do here. That's never really been on the table. So when we go and we continue to do these additional traffic studies, when we continue to do the planning efforts, part of that is looking at additional traffic studies. So when we do that, that's when we're going to take that good look and say, does this continue to work as it did, as the traffic congestion did on the south end of River Road? When it comes to Beltline has a significant amount of congestion. All of us who are out here know that it has a significant amount of congestion.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think there's one thing that I think is not well understood, okay, right? They're conceptual designs, we're studying something, but even in those conceptual designs, no one is talking about removing lanes near Beltline, right? I'm the person who's been, you know, telling people to do traffic modeling, right? I'm the person who everybody thinks is a little bit crazy, right? And on Lower River Road, you definitely can, according to our modeling, remove lanes. They're not used for turns, right? If you get all the turning people out of the lane, right? Everybody who's left in the lane, they just put their cruise control on it. You can go 35 miles an hour. It works better. You can carry more cars. We think that's going to work, and we're going to continue to make sure that that works. Around Beltline, I'll be the first person to tell you, if you touch any of those lanes, traffic will get worse. It's bad today. It's going to be bad tomorrow. The bus is not going to fix that, right? It gives you an option if you want to take it. The bus is not going to fix Beltline congestion. That's going to be here whether we do MX, you can do enhanced corridor, or you can do nothing. Beltline congestion is just going to be there. You can't fix it with a bus.
Okay, so we're at the back of the room, and then we're gonna take a hand raise from the Zoom audience. So who's ever iPad, you're gonna be next after this question.
I'm Karen, and we've lived out here for over 30 years. I've lived in Oregon all of my life and Eugene for all my life except for 6 years. So I've been around seeing some things. When I was a young woman and I lived in Eugene and I worked in Springfield. So my question is, how's anything changed? Let's make sure that I have a question.
Thank you.
How's anything changed? I would ride the bus from South Eugene to Springfield. So I'd get on, I'd go downtown, I'd transfer to Springfield, and then I'd get on at night and sit down in Eugene to get home. As winter came, my dad was concerned that I was sitting downtown at night, okay? So that wasn't how old was I? I was 19, so it's been a few years. So I got a car because he didn't want me sitting downtown riding the bus and waiting. I don't know if things have changed since then. I do have a friend who lived out here, worked over by Costco. She'd get on the bus here, go downtown Eugene and go to Costco. And then at night, she'd get off at 8 o'clock at night. She wouldn't get home till 10 at night because it took her that long to go from Costco to Eugene to out here. And then she'd have to walk through the neighborhood to get to her house. I just, you know, has anything changed? Is it any more efficient? Does it get people where you want to go? You know, the bus didn't go close to her house, it just goes up and down.
So is your question, is there something other than the hub and spoke design? Which is what this is, that the hub is downtown and then there are spokes that go everywhere. And to get from here to there, you always have to go to the hub and then go back out. Is that the question?
Yes, because it would take her 2 hours to get there and 2 hours to get home at night.
Right. Yeah, you want to do it? Yeah.
It's, the answer is sort of, right? Right now, major constraint, it's something you all face, and that's the only bridge across the Willamette up here is Beltline. It wouldn't be safe to run one of our buses on Beltline. That entrance ramp is really short. Buses are pretty slow to get going, right? We're not gonna do that. So right now, the answer is no. If the local arterial bridge that ODOT's been talking about, if that project gets funded, moves forward, the answer is yes, it's possible, but it's also hard to make connections because without getting into bus scheduling, you can't make everything time everywhere, right? So it makes it a lot easier if the bus comes more frequently here, because then we don't have to time the bus at the Santa Clara station, it's that way. So it's easier to do if we have more frequent service. It's possible to do if we have a bridge across the Willamette up here. Short of that, no, because we can't, I mean, right now we can't. There's just no way to run it.
That kind of piggybacks on what Patty was saying with her 100-year-old grandmother or the kids. It just takes forever to get on the bus.
Okay, next question comes from iPad in the Zoom audience. Please unmute yourself and ask away.
Thank you, Kate. My name is Brave. I've lived in the community for over 30 years. I'm involved in the community. My question is, their city is spending federal money to do work in Lane County property. I don't understand. It was illegal when they tried to do that with the sewers. We don't have representation. All your planners keep speaking as we have representation. Well, I've called Mike Clark. He does not return your call. We don't have representation. We're in the county. I'd like to know where our voice is supposed to be spoken to and who's listening. That's several questions, but thank you.
Well, yeah, being in the county, you have some options. One, Caitlin Vargas is the representative for this we call it a sub-district for Santa Clara and Bethel. So Caitlin Vargas is one place to have your voice heard. Come to an LTD meeting or a city council meeting and express your opinion. Stay active with this group, because I'm sure that whatever happens in the spring, whatever's presented, you guys are probably gonna make a decision on whether you're gonna support it or not. I'd imagine. I don't know that for certain, but it's a big, but that's a possibility. So
Okay.
that's where it is. You know, that, it's a conundrum. I wasn't here when there was the vote for people to go into the county or the city or not. I don't know how that goes, but that's how I would stay in contact and to make sure your voice is heard. And also, as Andrew said, you know, as you respond to
Okay.
us. Okay. We're gonna,
Go ahead.
we're gonna submit whatever comments you have, and we don't know who's in the county and who's not, and we're not gonna drill down on that. So everybody gets that say, and it'll go, you know, and it will be entered into our record. Is that correct, Andrew?
100% correct. If
Yeah.
you could get everybody out here who lives in the county to come and send me emails, please do. I try really hard, and I know a lot of you say, well, you never talk to me. It's really hard to get people's attention until sometimes they feel it's too late. So talk to your neighbors, get them to send me emails. I don't care whether you like the project or don't like the project. Part of my job is just to get you to talk to me so that I can tell city council and LTD's board what you have to say.
I have one more point. So you say that we have a community.
Can you say it again, Rod? You buzzed out here.
Okay, well, you say we have contacts through, I'm on several boards in Santa Clara. I realize that this planning has been going on since the 50s, but they are not communicating with the populace and letting us know. And again, they say that they are representing and that we have representation. We do not. So address that.
Okay, so I think he answered your comment in terms of encourage, no, you don't feel like that was an answer.
I don't know how to answer.
Okay.
I think we
Okay.
need more conversation is the point.
Okay, thanks for that. So we're gonna go to John and then Martha, and then we've got another one from home, and then we've got Janet, and then we've got Louis, and then we've got her, and then, okay. Let her rip. Be succinct.
Okay, my name's John, and I've lived in their area, using area for 74 of my 78 years. I believe in buses. I have the green bus that the lady was talking about, used to be back in College Hill. Buses are necessary in the River Road, Santa Clara area. They've got to serve the people. And right now, the plan that was put forward, and I do have some questions, I just want to take this first. The plan that was put forward, in my estimation, is totally ill-conceived, and I don't know what they were thinking. I mean, you talk about 8 bus stops. I counted 14 the other night. So you're gonna serve the people by reducing the bus stops. You gotta figure out how to get to the people that want to ride the bus. And maybe the Visa cards are the best thing to do. I don't know. But my suggestion is you spent $1.5 million by CH2M Hill drawing up all these plans. You need to table this. Don't spend any more money. Once you figure out what you want to do, you need to put it to the vote of the people.
Yeah.
The question is, 60% of the I have 3 questions. 60% of the residents live in the county. How are you going to reach those people in the county and do what and serve them? So it isn't just the city. And my next question is, River Road corridor, is that 100% controlled by the city, or does the county road system control part of it? Because I haven't heard whether it's 100% by the city. And number 3, if this goes through at $150 million, whatever it is, what percent of overhead is given to the LTD and given to the city? A lot of you hear this term, it's all about the money. So if this goes through and this is crammed down our throats, there's going to be $15 million for LTD to support their administration and $20 million to the city of Eugene.
Yep.
This does not serve the people. It's just a big balloon project. So anyway, those 3 questions.
So
the county,
the first one,
road.
just to reiterate, you're saying serve people in the county. You mean how will the buses get to people? Like EmX is supposed to end at Santa Clara Station, how will everyone else get bus service? Is that the
Well,
question?
I guess what I'm saying is, you gotta have a system for the buses that's gonna get to Mrs. Peabody that lives down
Sure.
between River Road
Gotcha.
and Northwest Expressway. Is she gonna walk 8 blocks to get in the bus and then going down the rain? You've gotta have small buses going throughout this area if you want them to ride.
So, as far as bus one people, we are planning to keep bus service where there is bus service today.
But it's not adequate as it is today.
No, you're getting rid of 6 bus stops
So-
on
so-
River Road.
Not stops, their stops are different, but I'm saying like where the 51 and 52 go right now, right? MX would be on River Road, where the 51 and 52 go, there would be bus service there. We would put bus service, but it won't be MX, it would be something else. We'd put bus service, it would serve those people. And then, you know, as far as smaller buses, a totally different question, different thing. So number 2, are we touching county road? No, it's all city road. County starts farther than the project is. And sorry, third question was.
Third question.
Oh, how
is,
much money does LTD make on this?
Well, how much goes to LTD administration and city administration?
LTD would be eligible to, for instance, like, if we got money from the federal government, right? Time that I work on the project can be billed towards that. But my staff time, beyond that, we don't like get money for doing it, right? Like, I don't get a bonus. Pat doesn't,
No, I
there's nothing like
understand
that. Like
But you got this
LTD, like.
huge infrastructure that you have to support.
Yeah, so I mean, it pays for the capital cost of the infrastructure, right? And if I work on that, then we can bill my time to it. But other than that, LTD and the city, like, there's no financial windfall in doing that, other than we have gained an asset, right? We would have repaved part of River Road. We would have, right? All those things are positive, but we don't have like cash sitting at the end of the day from that.
So I just want to say, are you saying the county has no say in this at all?
The county board, the Board of County Commissioners is not the road authority, and so they do not have to take a vote on whether or not it happens, because they don't own the roadway, right? The city owns the roadway, and LTD is also involved because we would be, right, building bus lanes and things. So both of those agencies have a vote. The county, there'd be no construction on county-owned facilities, and so they're not the road authority, and so they do not have a vote. No.
Okay, one final comment. This is called moving ahead. When you look at it, basically it's moving backwards.
Yeah.
Because the road out here that's there now, that was built with 4 lanes, it used to be a 2-lane highway to 4-lane, is basically functions very well in moving the people. And what you're proposing is going backwards. So you need to be, I think, start all over. Table what you're doing, start over from scratch, and get the community involved.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Martha, you're next.
I would like to know what portions of the road are being proposed under moving ahead plan as it currently stands to lose on lanes for car traffic.
So that's specific for MX right now. It is about Court Drive, which is south of Beltline, Maxwell-ish area, and then south down to Northwest Expressway. And those are the reallocations.
Okay.
Thank you, Martha. Okay, next question comes from Travis D. Travis, please unmute and ask your questions.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Hi, yeah, I'd like to go back to the gentleman before last, his question regarding whether or not the current routes would change. And I believe Andrew said the current routes will remain the same. Is that true, Andrew?
They wouldn't remain the same in that the 51 and 52 also run on River Road. What I meant to say was that if you live off of routes 51 and 52 right now, and there's a bus stop outside your house, there will be a bus stop outside your house if we built MX.
Okay, I believe that's maybe a mistakenly untrue statement you just made. But as I've read the plan and have had emails back and forth with, I believe you, the 51 indeed will lose the entire north half of the Whitaker from the river and to wherever you're planning in the plan that right now is accepted as the current plan you're moving forward on, the entire north half of the Whitaker on First Street will be losing its service of 51. Is that correct?
So it would not have the 51, also a Whitaker resident, so appreciate the question.
What would it have? What would it have?
We costed this out, right? Because when we're talking about operating costs, I can't tell you what it would look like, right? We have to first off decide what
Is there going to be a bus? Is there going to be a bus service on First Street equivalent to the 51 Santa Clara?
Yes.
That's not in the plan. I've read the plan. The plan is that the 51 will be rerouted up to, I believe it's 6th Street and down Chambers.
What I'm saying though is that it wouldn't be the 51. We have not done the type of detailed work where I can tell you where that bus would turn left and turn right to get on to First, right? We also have to serve Blair, right? Blair would be unserved if the 52 comes off. And so those things, like, we don't have the exact routing down because we have not done that level of work, right? We have not decided, for instance, that we're definitely doing EmX. We don't have construction funding. Those are details that we work out later. But what I'm telling you is that when I put the cost together and I said, someone mentioned it's going to cost $2 million more per year to operate, right? That's in all of our documents, that it's going to cost more money if we run more buses. And part of that $2 million is not just running EmX, it's replacing bus service that is today covering Whitaker, covering part of Santa Clara. And so we've costed that in, but I do not have an exact routing for you. I don't know exactly how it operates, but we are planning to operate that in the future.
Okay, so 51 on First will be replaced with a new bus line. That's a promise.
Yes.
Okay, great. My concern beyond that is that since EMX in other places in town has taken place, we've lost, because of the drain of funding, we have lost other neighborhood routes such as the 50 Park, the 27 Fairmount up in South Eugene, and the list goes on. And I believe that has directly to do with the amount of money that the EMX is sucking out of the LTD budget. If ridership was a concern, you wouldn't be doing the EMX, because that bus, I can guarantee you, halfway down River, not even halfway down River Road, let's say in front of Twin Dragon, you can stand there all day long and watch your buses come past with 2 to maybe 5 people, except for in the morning and in the afternoon. So if ridership was a concern for the 27 Fairmount, or getting students up to Roosevelt, or the 50 Park was a concern of ridership, then you're making a bad decision with the EMX, because it doesn't have ridership either.
Travis, is there a question in there?
Yeah, my other question is, or I guess it was a clarification, is that, as I'm understanding, the county residents within the UGB do not have representation. Is that true?
So that's what we're talking about when we've had outreach before, when we collect comments. We don't collect comments as if, what is your ward, whether you live in the city, whether you don't live in the city. It is, please give us your comments. We then take those comments and hand them over to the elected officials. That's kind of saying.
City council represents city residents within the UGB that are not county residents. But the county residents within the UGB do not have an actual representative. But your solution is for us to reach out to LTD to discuss our concerns directly with LTD. Doesn't that sound like a conflict of interest?
Yeah. Yes. Unelected LTD board.
I mean, is there anybody on the LTD board or that is employed by LTD that doesn't want to push this EMX down River Road?
I'll just say, so our board, I'm not speaking for them, LTD employees, right? Like, I'm not telling you my opinion while we're here, right? I'm here working, right? If you ask me while we were drinking beers or something, what my opinion was, I actually probably wouldn't tell you, because not because I don't think you'd like it, but just because, right, I'm doing my job today, right? So like, I hope you don't think we're trying to force this down, right? Like, city council and LTD board said, go study this. And they said, continue studying this. I'm not trying to blame them, right? I've been there the whole time. But right, I work at their direction. If they say stop working, it doesn't matter if I want to keep working on this, it stops, right? Like, I'm trying to say, I'm not the decision maker. And so my opinion, you'll never hear it because it's not relevant, right? What's relevant is me listening to your opinions. I relay that to, and so I guess my answer is you'll hear our board's opinions when they take votes, or you could call them up and ask them about it, but that's, you know, the best I can offer.
Okay, well, this is my final question for all of you.
Okay, we need to
Final
move
question.
on.
Final question. Will all of you representing LTD make sure to go back to the powers to be at LTD and let them know that there is a majority of citizenship out River Road, starting from the Chambers Connector and going all the way out to Spring Creek, that feel like their voices have not been heard? Can you let them know that for us?
I'm gonna say no. I'll say, because you said a majority of people, right? We do not have the majority of people on River Road here tonight, right? What I'm gonna tell them is I heard a whole bunch of negative things from you. I haven't heard a lot of positive things. I've heard a lot of negative things, and I'm gonna be very candid about that. I've been taking notes. It's being recorded. We'll go back. They can watch it. I've been recording individual concerns about cost, about ridership, about carbon, about trees, all these things. I'm taking notes. That will be relayed to them. I'm not going to relay to them that a majority of people, because they're not here. We didn't take a vote. There's no straw poll, right?
You need
But I heard a lot of negative things from you, and we're not going to gloss over that.
Okay, thanks, Travis.
I'm just gonna say that.
Janet?
Okay, two caveats. First, when you come to a meeting, you should have ample business cards. That's part of the communication. You've heard several people say, we don't know who to call. Be prepared and bring your cards. This happens far too often.
It's my fault.
Number two, do
My fault.
I need to remind government, and I'm tired of LTD riding shotgun over city politics because it strips us people from our voice. I'm mad at LTD for that. Three, need I remind us as a group, we're at $31 trillion deficit nationally. And just because a big piece of that pie is parlayed out to us as a community, does that mean we have to come to the hog trough and use it? No. Fourth question, or the second one is with regard to bikes, riding and bus ridership, what are those numbers that they were grouped off? I'd like to hear you on that. Last one pertains to the question that you cleverly evaded from this gentleman about what part of the pie, the financial pie, goes to LTD and the city. You guys know those numbers, and I don't think it was fair to him in asking that question that it was circumvented. Those numbers need to be provided as he asked that question.
Off the top.
And those numbers are in there.
So your question is, do they have numbers?
I know they have numbers. When are they going to share them, as this gentleman asked?
If you're asking for how much is the capital cost of constructing it,
No, that was not my question.
How much money?
His question, and I was waiting on bated breath for the answer, and I saw how you circled around it. Want to know what part of that administration cost, that big pile of money that everyone's frothing at to get. And I'll tell you, there is no tree. It's us. It's us. We're paying it. And I don't know about you, but I am groaning under the taxes right now. And pretty much it's not going to be coming from the people. We're already strapped. So the question again is, he asked you, and I'm asking you too, what part of that big federal pie goes to LTD administrative and goes to city? That number is available. I would expect it at the next meeting. And business cards and the ratio of how many bike riders there are comparative to the bus ridership. And you know where those pockets of ridership are. I know you know that. And that's, I think, what one of them was asking, where are those pockets of ridership and how are you assigning your buses for stops?
Okay. Do you have an answer for any of Janet's comments / questions?
I'll answer the one because you said we circumvented it, and I'll get you
You
counts.
evaded it with me too.
I'm not evading. What I'm telling you is that there's no 10% off the top. That's not the way
I'm
these
not
streets.
throwing a number, I'm asking.
I know, but what I'm saying is that there's 0% off the top, right? What I'm telling you is that the only money that would go to anyone who's an administrative employee of LTD is if they spend time working on the project.
You
And
mean
then
by
they,
the hour?
yes, basically they would bill my hourly
I-
time against the
I have
project.
a hard time believing that. There
That's
is
true.
a time.
It's true.
It is? Then forget it.
Okay, so we're gonna hear from somebody we haven't heard from. Oh, but Brian has something first.
I want to apologize. I have to go pick up my daughter. My wife is out of town. My daughter is in South Eugene. I have to pick her up by 8:30. I very much.
Does she go to South Eugene?
My daughter?
Yeah.
No, she's.
Okay, I just wondered if you were.
No, we live-
We're
we
gonna
live on
stay
Spring- we live
on
Spring
point
Creek, but
here.
anyway.
That's off topic.
I have to go pick her up. I really appreciate everybody being
Thank
here.
you.
100%. If it's valuable, I can come back on my way home. We'll be here like at 8:50.
I think we have our business we need to attend to tonight, so we're gonna leave this topic on the table till 8:30, and then whatever questions or comments you have,
Here's my
you can
information.
reach these people via email.
I did bring business.
And I did, I did those cards as well.
Be prepared.
No, I am prepared.
That's not enough share, I'm sorry.
Thanks, Brian.
So you could also, Ryan, you could, we could put your email on the board. Do you have a white, a dry erase marker, Jerry, or no? Yeah. All right.
Oh, I have a Sharpie.
So next in line is the back of the room, somebody we haven't heard from yet tonight.
Hi, my name is Mona. I've lived in this area for 34 years. And I just want to summarize what I've heard. Tell me if I'm wrong, but you say that you're in a steady mode and you were told to come out and find out if you want to bring EMS out here and if it's feasible. You get paid for that. That's what the grant's paying you to do. And yet, in that study, I have not gotten any information in the mail telling me that this is happening. I was not invited to these house meetings where you were discussing these. I did not even know a house meeting was happening. That was mentioned at the very beginning by you. That you, can you repeat then the three ways that, there are ways that you guys are studying?
So what the planners are doing is that they're studying the locally preferred alternative that was presented to the city council and the LTE board back in the spring. They're looking over the whole plan, and that includes things like tree removal. They're looking at.
It does. So it includes a lot of different things, right? And part of this is because if we're gonna build something, we're gonna have to go through a full environmental review process. And so we've done a whole bunch of work up front.
At the beginning, you were telling of the different ways that you have been communicating and getting
so.
information.
And none of us have gotten those, none of
So
us.
So I guess.
Until about 9 months ago that you guys were even thinking of it.
I just have to say that
What you need to do is send something to every Lane County or every Santa Clara resident, put it in their mailbox, so we know what's going on.
Let us be part of your.
And tell us when these meetings are and stuff. We don't have to go look it up on the internet because we heard somebody talking about it.
It was about a meeting that I wasn't invited to or didn't know about even. And I, in fact, if it weren't for the Santa Clarion, I would have known that you were gonna be here because you didn't send any information out about this study that you're doing. Tonight. So you need to communicate in your study rather than taking that grant money and saying you're studying. You need to actually do some studying of what our opinions are in the Lane County area. Because no, I cannot vote with the city. The city's represented here, but they're not representing me. I would like to have my voice, and I know everybody here who's a county resident would like to be studied as to what our opinion is. I don't want to call one person. I don't want to tell my neighbors to bombard that person. Lord knows that person has enough work. She's getting paid by this grant, but I don't think she's getting paid enough. If you're gonna just say her name and have all these people bombard her. I don't know.
Who, me?
No, this famous person.
Caitlin Vargas.
Not you. You know, I agree, Karen. Send me an information that you need studied, whether it be a poll, a questionnaire.
So can I?
Surely you can budget.
So I'm gonna ask you a question actually, because I'm really curious, okay? So we've sent, if you live within a half mile of where any of these changes would happen, we would have sent you mail. Because we have to. So I'm hearing from you that that's not good enough. Hold on one second. This- If you live within a half mile, I know you did, you may not have known what it was, but we sent out 42,000 pieces of mail twice to everyone. If you live on the corridor, we tried to knock on your door.
What is it exactly you sent? What did it say?
It was a postcard that invited everyone to come, right? I understand a lot of you don't live within a half mile, right? I'm sorry?
Where were we invited to?
To an open house at North Eugene High School. We had 3 of them.
Never gotten any information.
Okay. Maybe we could have a show of hands for people who have heard of Moving Ahead and did attend an open house or an event.
I did when I was working at LTV.
And how many have not heard about any information?
Yeah, I understand that. It's the other people in the room.
I actually, because I have to, we're gonna be doing this again, right? Like, I'm gonna be back out here, right? So my question to you, and anyone can feel free to chime in afterwards, is how do I reach you, right? So we didn't send mail to everyone in Eugene, but we sent mail to 42,000 people, right? We sent mail to anyone who owns property on the corridor that we might maybe want to touch. We sent people knocking once in 2017 or 2018, I can't remember. We knocked on over 500 doors on Coburg Road, River Road, Highway 99, right? We sent people out. It's super time consuming and it's not cheap to do, right? And so and we, social media, all this stuff, we come to community. This is not my first time here. Kate can back us up. We've been here, maybe not enough. But so my question is like, how do I reach you if we did all those things? And I hear it's not you. I've heard it from a lot of people that we didn't reach them. And actually, you know, that means I can do my job better. And I'm being very genuine when I ask, how do I get people like you to come to a meeting, you know, that probably sounds super boring and you're like, I don't know exactly what it is. I'm being genuine because I do want you to participate. That's the more people would participate, we wouldn't be having this meeting, right? We have a different meeting, it'd be more fun.
Yeah. Between what's so important about this MX coming down here or even versus just what we have already? Why? What's the difference?
So we covered that at the beginning. You can come back and find it on the internet, YouTube of this meeting, or you can find it on LTD's website, but there's 3 options. Yes.
I have a suggestion, you know, if you said, what you sent out must have been pretty innocuous, you know, you wouldn't think, why would I care about that? Put down, you know, you've heard from all of us what we care about. Tell in your mailing, we're proposing to take out 1 lane going in each direction on River Road. We're proposing to cut down 132 trees. We're proposing to lay 2 more acres of asphalt or cement. Those incontroversial things that people obviously do not like, that will get their attention. That will make them.
Okay, so somebody we haven't heard from.
People were talking about, you know, the kind of outreach you've done. I can tell you what kind of outreach they did. I personally went up and down each one of those 5 corridors. I went door to door to people who lived on the corridor, they had a house and businesses. 95% of the people didn't know anything about these plans when I talked to them. The 5% that did said, oh yeah, I think I got a postcard, okay? I only met 1 person in that whole 5 corridors who had any of your people come over and talk to her. She said, 2 people came over to me and they said, oh, these are the plans, don't stand in the way of the flow. They didn't want to know what she had to say. They wanted to tell her what was going to happen. Wow. So, and the plans, you know, you said these open houses, nobody was showing the plans. I mean, they were dog and pony shows, and there was no dog and no pony. You didn't show the plans. It was a PR stunt. So when you say you had output, I know personally that it was not legitimately trying to tell people what was going on.
Is there a question in there somewhere?
Yeah.
What's the question?
Why do you think you did such a good job when all these people didn't know about it?
Look, I'll tell you, we've had thousands of people who did come, right?
And where they show the plans, the plans.
So I think you're referencing a book about that thick. It's on 11 by 17 paper.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a house, don't you want to know what's going to happen to your house?
And so first off, those are conceptual. They say on them not for construction, right? They're intended to put a footprint out, which is the biggest that we think we might do, right? Because when we come here and you say, well, how many trees do you think you might cut down? You're going to want an answer, right? And so we drew the biggest lines we could, and that's what those are. They're not for construction. And yes, we did have them available at every single event, including, we did actually. And
little poster.
And I can tell you that they've been available on our website. I've spent hours of my life. I come to meetings like this all the time, trying to show that to people. And it's very difficult to get them to look at them, actually.
You could also put it on the internet and tell them this, where you can actually see the plans that affect your property.
Okay, Louis has been in the queue, and I'm sorry, I glossed over you, I forgot you.
Louis Vidmar, I live on Greenwich Avenue on my house for 10 years. I work at the University of Oregon, who pays a lot of money to LCD, whether or not. Pre-pandemic, I used to ride the bus quite a bit. It would take me about 45 minutes to get to work, maybe 35 if I was really lucky. And that was after the EmX went to James Springfield. So it got a lot better when that happened. So it takes me almost twice as long via bus versus car or bike. I do take Northwest Expressway, not River Road when I drive. I want to say that I would love if the bus was more efficient at getting me to work faster. I would also love the enhanced bike safety down River Road, because we kind of call it the gauntlet if you're riding down there or walking. It's not safe or fun. It's like I try to get off River Road as quick as I can. I guess a question, two questions. So the Santa Clara station would then be a center of like a smaller spoke and wheel kind of thing. So like there wouldn't be a wheel around it, there'd be spokes from it. There would be an opportunity for smaller buses to do that, to do the 51 and 52, the outskirts.
Probably not smaller buses. And I say that because it's not really any cheaper to run smaller buses. And it probably would actually cost us more money. I know that doesn't sound true, right? But most of our cost is in the driver. It's not actually the bus. And so smaller buses would mean we have to have a whole nother set of parts to maintain, a whole nother training for our mechanics and stuff. So it's
smaller than the double length.
They wouldn't be 60 foot. They'd probably be 40 foot.
Because like as you get down River Road, you get to like the Mission, the bus fills up quick.
Yeah. We probably would not run. I say that has to do with like bus availability and scheduling. So sometimes we have to run one of those because we don't have the 40-foot buses. But I don't think we would intend to do that on a regular basis.
Okay, and then the second question, how do you project people, like potential ridership for people who would ride the bus if versus studying actual ridership today? So like me, I don't ride the bus. I haven't ridden the bus since the pandemic.
So
I would ride the bus if I could get there in less than half an hour.
How do we make guesses, right? Estimates about how many people are going to ride? So LCOG, Lane Council Governments, maintains a regional travel demand model, and we had our consultants use that. That's also the model that does stuff like if we added a lane to Beltline, would it actually alleviate congestion, right? Anything can be put in there, whether it's for cars, buses, bikes, whatever. And that's where we're getting our data. So is it perfect? No, it is a guess on how much ridership we're gonna have in 2035. We're gonna redo it because ridership is currently lower today. And so, I think that's, if people have concerns about that, that's very real. We're gonna put new numbers in, we're gonna update that, we're gonna see how they look.
What is this called?
LCOG's, it's called a regional travel demand model. Every region like ours is gonna have one.
Okay. We're at time.
But I wanted to enforce that people should come. I mean, this meets every
The first Thursday of every month, the Santa Clara Community Organization
meets.
meets.
You'll know what the agenda. Kate does a great job getting the word out.
get on the email list, you'll get a notification from Jerry, who's our secretary treasurer, and you'll be aware of what's on the agenda, and you can always suggest other agenda item topics.
Just a final comment I have for Roll. I appreciate you guys being out here. I personally have been in your position on road projects, so I know what you're going through. I think the group as a whole, however, would appreciate someone with a little more horsepower to listen to our concerns and our questions and to give us some responses that we feel might be, that we can feel they understand, rather than me just taking the questions to them. And to the group, I would suggest, and it's kind of been glossed over, this LTD board is unelected. It is appointed by the governor, and I personally do not believe they have much, if any, accountability to us.
Absolutely.
Work on getting that board elected. Okay, and we just recently were successful, thanks to you, sir, Meta, in deposing a council person who liked this project and this idea of cutting 2 lanes off River Road. Stay on top of the city council, make sure they don't appoint a clone in the interim until we get to the May 23 election. That's all I have.
Okay. And I would just let you know that on October 12th, there's a forum for people who have put their names up to be possible Ward 7 city councilors at Alluvium Church from 6 to 8. And anybody, it's open to the public. So, and anybody who wanted to be part of that, they'll be answering questions or so.
What date is that?
October 12th.
Can I take a vote or show of hands of who would support this proposal?
This
and who
is
would not?
not relevant. It's
And-
not,
and
an-
just to have the.
I think they've heard you clearly.
We've got a pretty firm grip on the fact that there isn't anybody in here saying do MX.
I think I heard one positive.
Yeah, one
comment.
positive comment maybe, but that's it. Yeah, so
Yes,
I think
I just wanted to say something. First of all, thank you for this. This is, I have some huge concerns about it too. And just great questions, and some people that came to our game in the games to park night spotted some information I didn't, and I went and looked at your website and saw some really great questions. But I just want to let you know, if you go to our website, and almost any page that has a right-hand column to it, you'll see a subscribe. It's not what someone referenced as far as the monthly announcement of the meeting, which then had the topic LTE tonight. That did work that way. In that right-hand subscribe, what that does, it gets you into the blog, which comes out usually 4 to 8 blog postings a month. And it'll have oftentimes important meetings that are coming up during the bicycles. There's one, the Lane County Master Bicycle Plan coming up. But homelessness comes up in there. And generally, if it's a hot topic, it's something you're going to want to go to and find out. I'm a little bit amazed that people say they didn't know about the whole MX moving ahead thing, because if you go in there and search for moving ahead, you'll see our post back to 2015. Now, why is that? It's because we don't have enough people signed up. You know, so please sign up, because you're gonna find stuff like that coming out. You would have known in 2015 about that. So sign up.